Welcome to this video looking at the top 5 major nonconformities that were found in IATF 16949 third-party audits in 2021. So, Niall, I wonder if you can tell me then, what is the top of the list in terms of the top 5 major nonconformities?
So, hi, Paul. Good question. No major surprises here. The biggest major nonconformity is problem solving, 10.2.3. So that's the highest frequency major nonconformity that we see globally, which is, that has been the case for some time. It does seem to be a recurring problem. And I know there's kind of discussions going on within IATF about whether there is more guidance and support that organisations need to be able to do effective problem solving.
1,113 major nonconformities in 2021 against problem solving. And I think some people wrongly think that the problem solving requirement only applies to customer related issues. But I think we all know that it isn't. It is customer-related issues. It could be internal manufacturing issues. It could be internal audit findings. Yeah. It's really how does the organisation deal with problems. Devin, number 2 then, can you give us a little bit of insight as to the number 2 major nonconformity?
Yeah, so number 2 kind of following the same suit is nonconformity and corrective action. That's 10.2.1. It is actually an ISO 9001 direct clause as well. But yeah, that once again, as Niall said, these problem solving and non-conforming and corrective action have been the top 2 for some time within the IATF.
Yeah, and I guess this could be about if an organization doesn't address a minor nonconformity effectively from a previous audit, then there's the concept that minor will go to a major. But I guess what could contribute to this is that the auditor would also raise a new major against the lack of effectiveness of the organization's corrective action. So that could be having an impact, I guess, on these numbers for number 1 and for number 2.
Yeah, that's a good point, Paul, because as you know, any minor nonconformity has to be closed within a predefined amount of time, within 90 days, but it will need to be verified during the next scheduled audit, which often is a year later. If during that verification the same problem is seen, then the certification body is obliged to escalate the original minor to a major, and then to raise a new major on sort of non-conformity and corrective action.
Yeah, so I think that is contributing to those numbers. And as Devin said, those have been number 1 and 2 for many years now.
Yeah.
I see number 3 then is clause 8.3.5.2, which is about manufacturing process design output. Niall, can you give me a little bit of insight as to why 500 organizations in the supply chain have had major nonconformities against this requirement?
Yeah, I wish I could, Paul. It's interesting because this particular clause is made up of a number of sub-clauses. They run from A to N in the IATF standard, and it basically lists all of the outputs from the manufacturing process design activity. So what we might think of as the APQP activity, so the outputs of that activity. And so there's no shortage of potential items that are triggering non-conformities. Personally, I think one of them is the manufacturing process FMEA. Interestingly, the standard specifically calls for an FMEA, failure mode and effects analysis, in this section. And that language is slightly different from other areas where the term risk analysis is more used. So I personally think it's probably linked to FMEA, but it could be any of those really important outputs from the APQP type activity.
Yeah, but I guess the fact that they're majors signifies either its complete breakdown in the system to produce these documents and information, or there is a significant risk in the shipment of non-conforming product to the customer. And number 4, I guess, Devin, is somewhat related to that. This is against 8511 control plan. Similar number of major non-conformities in 2021 were raised against this requirement as per the design output requirement. What types of issues do you think organizations have in maintaining control plans?
Yeah, so with the control plan, and this is one of the most important documents within the entire facility itself. I mean, it dictates what you're doing, how you're making these products, right? So when something maybe doesn't go to plan, or when you find a better way to do something, you have to make sure those control plan documents get updated to reflect how you're actually running the operation. And it'll be really interesting to see when Industry 4.0 takes off, as we become digital, how quickly these documents are getting updated, because currently, a lot of times, it's a very manual process, and these steps can be easily missed.
Yeah, no, I think you've hit the nail on the head there in terms of it's not just having control plans, it's keeping them as live documents. And I think that is a common issue that comes up in audits, that organizations haven't got effective processes to keep the control plan live as a result of change. And then finally now, number 5 then. So we've reserved a 5-digit clause for number 5 at 7.1.5.1.1, which relates to measurement system analysis. So we're getting technical now. What, in your view then, do you think might be the weakness in the supply chain as to the fact that this is number 5 in the major nonconformities?
Yeah, and again, it links to the previous one, Paul, doesn't it? Control plan. And again, it's all linked into risk management. So we use the control plan to manage the risks associated with the manufacturing process, but also we use the control plan to make sure that any measurement system we are defining and using in that control plan is appropriate. And the way we do that is we undertake a statistical analysis, a measurement systems analysis on that equipment as it's used in the process by the people involved in the process. And you're right, this is one of the biggest major non-conformities that we see globally. Again, it's difficult to know how much of that is down to, let's say, competency and knowledge of measurement systems analysis and sort of interpreting results. And actually, maybe that's something that we should look to do for a subsequent video, maybe to kind of try and explain how one would interpret and interrogate some measurement system analysis records.
I think that is an area where there is a big skill gap within auditors, within the supply base, understanding the statistical basis of measurement system analysis. I think many people would admit that this is an area that they are not that confident in meeting. So I think in 2022, we can expand some of the video series about measurement system analysis. So in summary then, looking back at the 2021 non-conformity data for major non-conformities, number 1, we have problem solving, 10.2.3. Number 2, we have non-conformity and corrective action, 10.2.1, which is from the ISO 9001 standard. Number 3, we have 8.3.5.2, manufacturing process design output. Number 4, we have 8.4.1.1 control plan. And then number 5, we have a 5-digit requirement, 7.1.5.1.1, related to measurement system analysis. In the next video, we will study the requirements in the top 10 major nonconformities from number 6 to number 10.